Hello YouTube, this is Polenicus. I am just here because I wanted to give you a bit of a walkthrough of the Ina. She's pretty much complete. There are a couple things I want to do, but the main ship herself is done. And so I'm going to show her off a little bit to you because I'm really proud of her. So I'm hopping in here. Now this here is part of it. This is actually the fighter that I designed for the Last Stand Gamers Dogfighting League. This one has been modified a little bit because the Last Stand Gamers Dogfighting League had very stringent requirements as far as weaponry goes. You can only have 3 weapons, so that version had only 2 Gatling guns and the dorsal missile launcher. But since I have under no such requirements here, I beefed it up with some additional Gatlings, where I had some spotlights before, and another rocket launcher. I have had other fighters on the Ina, and I am probably going to end up taking the one Pitbull that I managed to salvage along with me. And as you can see, I've repaired it, and I've also recovered and repaired the mole, and I've rebuilt my 2 little utility ships. So I've got all my auxiliary ships rebuilt and ready to go. But I wanted to take this one because this is a fighter I designed, and I should be flying around in my own fighter, right? So let's do a quick let's do an overview of the externals first, shall we? Anyway, as you can see, I've added some. I've relocated the main antenna further back to the hatch where the Star Fury is usually kept. And I've added some additional turrets. I've got an autocannon turret and 2 Minotaur turrets on the top, and an additional 2 Minotaur turrets underneath to give her some additional firepower. Now I focus on putting all the firepower on the battle section because, as those of you, I'm going to be showing off the video where the ship actually separates out, and I can see those doors are glitchy. Hang on just 1 second here. I'm just going to fix that so it looks right, because I'm finicky. That's just a visual glitch with the doors, because doors are kind of glitchy right now, and you got doors that big, it tends to show. It doesn't affect the functionality at all. It's just a visual glitch. But anyway, yeah, I've got those additional turrets on the bottom side of the ship, and those are essentially intended for defensive purposes. But I mean, I have another part of the video where I've showed off how much damage these things do, and they're basically there to. I don't really need them currently. However, I'm expecting that Keen is eventually going to add AIs. We're eventually going to have stuff coming after me, and I've had some close calls with a couple of Shrikes that have spawned in close here when I've been docked and unable to move. And I just like to have some more firepower. And hey, I always design these things, with the whole thought in mind of, is like, if this was a PvP situation, how would I be able to equip myself? I like to design my ship for contingencies because it adds a challenge to it. I mean, if I just wanted a ship that would get me out there to explore and everything like that, I wouldn't need anything close to what I've built here. But I like to make something that can basically handle itself in almost any situation. Okay, so moving on here. There's my super trader. I probably am going to have to find a way to take that with me. I'm probably going to modify it so it'll dock using my standard docking, because I would really like to take that with me. Because I've had a number of ships based on that basic design, and they've all served me really, really well. And they're good little things to have. And there's nothing wrong with the mini ones that I have, but I like to have a little little bit more robust construction vehicles available to me, and I can keep them in. The whole philosophy is that the both the printer section and the battle section can operate independently. So the printer section, by all rights, should have its own construction vehicle, since the battle section is the one that has the two mini things, and the super trader can handle both grinding and welding. So it would make sense, and I got space, so I might as well bring it along with me. So as you can see, the wings are quite a bit larger than they were originally. I've got additional thrusters, industrial thrusters in there for some additional thrust. You can see I've removed what was left of the bumble. It's gone now. I do have some ideas of what I'm going to replace it, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But then this wing hump here, that's basically was originally put in there to provide room for the doors to open up, because they got to have space to retract up into. But, you know, I filled it also with a bunch of gyros and stuff to improve maneuverability. And fly along here, and as you can see on the grind plate, actually I'm going to hop out for a second here to show you something. You can see on the grind plate there, I've got that docking collar over the front of the ship. That's mostly just for aesthetics, because before it was just kind of stuck on there with what looked like 4 toothpicks. It's still only stuck on there with 4 toothpicks, essentially, but I wanted to look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, especially since the rest of the ship blends in so nicely. Now, one of the things I have done is you get in here and you'll see I've put welders in here. The reason for this is because when you dock and undock and stuff like that, it breaks stuff, it damages stuff, it causes harm. And so the idea is that to make it so it's less prohibitive to do that, I'm just going to put some welders in here, because this is all nicely concealed and everything. And so every time I dock or undock, I just turn the welders on, and it just fixes up whatever was hurt. And you know, I can turn on the projector if I need to, if there's actual blocks that have been knocked out or something, and then I don't have to get out and fix it. I don't seem to need it on for the aft section, because that uses the Darth Biomech docking collars, and those don't seem to have that same problem that regular merge blocks do. Or at least they don't show it nearly as badly. I don't know. Anyway, so now we're just going to move on to the flight deck, and I've got all my pretty spotlights turned off, because my pretty spotlights cause pretty frame rate drop. So I'm pretty not going to have them on, especially not when I'm in this area here. Around the station is very cluttered. And so it hurts my frame rate. I have to be careful on this thing, because the arrow here is quite overpowered, although it does stop on a dime. So it's more an issue of having to be careful with my side slip. And so we'll just nudge in here, and the doors open automatically. Ooh, isn't that cool? Got a sensor on there so that it'll open for me. And I'm just going to sneak over and get into position here. Perspectives are tough. Okay. And this stuff here is nothing new. This is just the Maglock landing pads, but I did add a script. You can see the doors are closing automatically too. Oh, I left my airlock open. That's bad. That's not super bad. It's not super bad, because I got everything set up properly to ensure that that isn't super bad. Let's go over a little bit. Getting these things lined up is a challenge, especially with something this big. This is not a small fighter. There we go. Okay. And now this is really cool. Okay, so you see all those Maglock pads? They're basically landing. They're basically just landing gear, just made into a flat surface. They function exactly the same. Watch this. Boom. There is a script that that is available out there that links these landing pads to a particular connector. It's just a piece of code. It's just a little thing that runs on a programmable block, and it allows me to lock my ship down without having to worry. So just hit the P and it locks down. Hit P again and it'll unlock. There we go. Now, of course, there is the whole problem is that last time I did this, I ended up blowing my landing gear off. This is not entirely friendly towards landing gear. I don't know why I did that. Probably because these ended up clipping down into the surface there, which is no bueno. But, well, we'll leave it. We'll see how it is. I can't leave it in here because I don't want to have all this stuff locked down when I undock, because that's proven disastrous before to make such huge changes to the grid. Okay. So, as you can see here, that's actually the timer block that's driving the script for those. It's just basically reloading it and everything. I have some LCD panels. I haven't done anything with them yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them, but I'm sure I'll have some use for them. I just put them there because they're aesthetically pleasing. Okay. And so we're going to head up here. And this isn't really anything new here. Open airlock door. Close airlock door. Now check that out. Check out the oxygen. That's right. She's pressurized. I have fully kitted this ship out with life support. All of it. This whole section is pressurized. The battle section is pressurized. It's all pressurized. Now, if you look up there, you can see I've got some oxygen tanks and some oxygen generators. I mean, that's a fairly obvious place to put them, honestly, because it's all conveyored up anyway, and just stick them on the outside there, and you know, that's kind of what you would expect, is to have them all sort of lined up like that. In the battle section, I had to kind of stuff them away, but any section where you've got two conveyor pipes in a row, you can pretty much substitute in an oxygen tank or an oxygen generator, so not too hard to retrofit to existing ships. The difficult part is getting everything airtight. I had already been designing with that in mind, so I didn't have too many leaks to plug. So we're doing pretty good here. So I'm not going to take my helmet off, though, because I have had bad experiences where I take my helmet off and then every med bay I try and spawn at spawns me outside the ship, and then I die before I can get inside, and you know. Okay, and so here we are on the main deck of the printer section. Now, as you can see, let's turn all that spam off. As you can see, I have made a lot of changes here, because this used to all just be sort of open space. It was all open, wasted space. And I wanted to set this up as kind of a crew quarters, because I figured that the majority of the crew of the ship are going to want to live in the largest section of the ship, the most comfortable section of the ship. So I set about setting this up. In here, the assembler's going. I can imagine it'd be kind of hard to sleep in here. Earmuffs or something. But here we have sort of a crew section. Just very basic, but bunk beds, and of course it's all pressurized and everything. And just depressurized it. No, okay. Yeah. It's all pressurized. It's just air effect. And then back here is access to where the advanced life support stuff is, the hydroponics. There's another vent in there. Water recycling and everything. I figure the rest of the advanced life support stuff is either going to have a vanilla replacement or is going to be activated at some point and turn into gameplay, and so the ship is all prepared for it. And so close that up. And in here we have bathroom, because gotta have a toilet. And a couple of shower stalls. Oh, that's cute. That's off kilter there. There we go. Reset that. The glass is broken. You fix it by opening and closing the door. But, you know, showers and stuff. This is basically for aesthetics and stuff. But hey, you know, I kind of like the idea of being able to roleplay this as an actual ship and stuff. And people of Edmonton, could you stop requiring the cops to worrying about for 5 minutes, please? Thank you. Okay. And so we're going to go upstairs here to the second level, and this is kind of the rec deck. And so I put in a pool table, because you got to have a pool table. And, you know, you got to have a Space Invaders machine, and you got to have Pac-Man, and you got to have Mortal Kombat. This is a requirement for survival in space. Coke and Pepsi, you know, whichever one you prefer, you know, make your choice now. It's like, I'm going to make it so you can click on one of them. Click on one of them. Make your choice. You can only have one. You can't like both. And then we're around back here. Of course, another vent. I went sort of overboard with the vents because I wanted, you know, some redundancy and stuff. I wanted this place to be able to pressurize itself quick. You know, coffee. There's a food processor from the advanced life support again. So food and, of course, a med bay. I was limited in how much light I could get back here. It's a little dark, just because I had to, because this is on top of a refinery, so there's a lot of floor panels and stuff. And around here, much of the same. And then we have this here, which basically functions as access to the dorsal airlock, which leads up to where I will have a ship, a utility ship docked, but I don't have one currently. It's empty space. And downstairs, I believe I've already shown that off, down the floor of the printer section. It's all pretty much the same there. Just added in some vents for atmosphere and stuff. So we'll continue on to the main section of the ship. There you can get a good look at the I cannot word today. Get a good look at the oxygen tanks and the oxygen generators. I managed to find an asteroid that had a big chunk of ice on it, so I got that all charged up, which was nice. Fortunately for me, the ice that's used in vanilla is exactly the same as the ice that was used in the advanced life support mod, so most of they had already been spawning in my asteroids. I actually had a little bit to start off with. It allowed me to play around with it a little bit, but you know, there were some incidences of me venting it out into space a lot, and I eventually ran out. This is a lot of space to pressurize too. I mean, this is an enormous structure. Okay, so we're gonna move over here to the battle section of the ship. And going through here without a helmet would probably hurt, just because this is never going to be pressurized. There's no way to pressurize it. But it doesn't depressurize stuff when you go through it, so... Oh, wait, why is it... No, well, there it goes. It takes the oxygen readout lags a bit, but this is all pressurized in here. But yeah, that section is always going to be unpressurized, and probably shouldn't be moving through sections of the ship without a helmet on anyway, just, you know, as a safety thing, because you're always... space is all out there, you know. And use the hydroponics for the battle section of the ship. Oxygen generators. And there are oxygen tanks tucked away in various places. I don't know if oxygen is going to be used for other things or not. I've probably gone a little bit overboard in how much I've actually got stockpiled. But, you know, better safe than sorry. Especially when it comes to resources that are necessary to live. Yeah, if you didn't know, that's the access to the Star Fury's little garage. And further into the ship here, there's another vent in there. I actually had a advanced life support oxygen generator back there, and I've just replaced it with a vanilla oxygen generator. And there's another oxygen tank. I kind of like how, you know, if you're going to have stuff in the ceiling and stuff like that, it's actual functional stuff. And you would, on a ship like this, you would have occasional stuff like that. That's kind of nice how it's visible. Now, no real change on the bridge section here, but the rest of this is all changed quite a bit. And I decided it didn't need to be symmetrical, and I wanted to... and there was also an issue that cropped up that came about pressurizing this, that led to me to basically redo this whole section. Namely that this large container here drops down to the subfloor, which is not airtight, and so the air was basically, these large containers are not airtight. For those of you who operate using something based on the mining hauler, I'm really sorry, you're never going to make that thing airtight unless you like build a whole shell around it, because its walls are basically made out of these large containers. They are not airtight. The way air works is actually makes a whole lot of sense. If you can see space, it's not airtight. So I had to seal that off. But I basically sealed it off and using some glass here, and I basically kind of redesigned the deck and reworked things. If you go in here, I've got some of those guys here, and I've still got the little utility ships garages. They're not really all that changed. I've just made proper airlocks to get access to them now. Derpiness. Out here. See, it doesn't update properly, I don't think. Okay, well, like I said, that's part of the problem here. Is these areas here don't have a vent, so you can open to it. It doesn't necessarily depressurize the whole ship, but then that vent has to work extra hard to pump oxygen in here. Now, if I stand here for long enough, it should eventually say that there's oxygen in here, because it will eventually pressurize this, I think. Yep. So it's just finally pressurized this space. So if you're using this sort of airlock setup, you are always going to lose air whenever you open that door there, which is not the most efficient way to go. You would want to have a vent that would empty it out. It's an awful lot of work, though, and it's not a whole lot of air, so I'm not too concerned about it. As long as I'm not depressurizing the whole ship, I'm happy. Okay, and so we're going to go back here to the... Close that off. Back here, if you guys had ever wondered what's in there, that's just a grav generator in there. I'm not going to open it up, though, because that is butting right up against the large cargo container, which means that it's open. It's not airtight, and it would basically blow all the air out into space. But it's basically grav generator. Now, I don't know why I can access the cargo container through this window, but I'm not complaining, because it makes my life a lot easier. Best of both worlds. Let's see, I can't on this one, and I can't on the other side, so I don't know why that is. You can see this is the other garage here, and they basically have not changed. They just have proper airlock access now. So we're going to close that off. And this here has also not changed. This is the commode and a shower here. Very basic and bare bones. I can't really recolor any of this because that's external hull. But here I have improved this. If you remembered, I don't know if I showed off previously, but I had a very sort of small nook for the captain to sleep in. I thought that was not really good enough. So here, the captain has proper quarters now. So he's got, you know, a work desk. We can yeah, you consider this one. It's just a little bit twitchy to get access to. There, boop, there. Type away, tap, 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 tap. But yeah, he's got a work desk, got his bed, got his view out into space through the scaffolding of the ship. I would have put a LCD panel there, but it's either that or a light, so I decided to put a light on there. Actually, I'm probably going to change the color of that light white. And back out into the rest of the ship. Close this off. And we come out here. And this is also pressurized here. Airlock, port and starboard. And another rack for our gear. And a food processor unit so we can get food if that ever becomes a thing. And an air vent so we can breathe. And that's basically the ship. So, oh no, that leads to the station. Hop outside, actually. But this is basically the ship as she stands right now, and she's essentially ready to go. This is more than the actual refit I've got posted up on the on Steam right now, so I'm probably going to update that with all the additional goodies that I've built into the ship so far. But yeah, we are pretty much recovered from that little accident and ready to go. Just got a few more tweaks, and there is one thing that I want to do. Is the spot up here is empty. Now I could decide what I wanted to do with it. I mean, I could just see if I find a ship in exploration that I could want to stick up there, but that's not really what I want. I want something that's actually useful to me, and that was the big problem. Is the original Bumble was not useful to me. Not that I didn't need something, but it wasn't what I needed. What I need is a capture ship. What I need is a ship that I can use to capture NPC ships and do it more efficiently than what I can do. Which is currently my current thing is to cause them to run out of ammo by flying around them and panicking, and then jumping out of my ship and swimming out to them and hoping I can get control of their control panel and disable any traps or anything like that and get it stopped before I get out of range of everything I know and love and can't find my way back. That's stupid. It's also not going to work on a lot of the bigger ships. You're never going to pull that off with a military transporter. So what I'm going to build is essentially a tugboat with a sniper rifle. I've got a design in mind, and what it is it'll be a large ship. It'll actually be based something on a little bit on the arrow design, the Avro arrow design. As far as engine configuration, to give it lots of thrust, and it'll have 12 landing gear. And it'll also have a railgun on the front, with the idea being that I would find a ship that I would want. I would hang off about 1,000 meters, about a kilometer away from it so that the turrets can't hit me, and snipe the turrets off. I would then fly up, or pop the reactor if that's the faster way to do it. Then I would fly up to it, use the landing gear to lock onto the hull, and use my own inertial dampers to stop it. And then I would be able to capture it and basically convert it for my own, get control of it at my own leisure, which should work with most of the larger ships. I've never actually used a ship of that type before, but I think that would be of real use to me. Because if I go out there and I could detach the Ina's battle section and go out there, but I mean, all I'm going to catch at that point is going to be a empty hulk, because I'm going to have blown it to smithereens. And I would rather something a lot more elegant than that. So that is what I'm going to be working on next, and I'm probably going to try and finish that before I set out again. Just because that will be a lot harder to complete on the go. And I also need to set up the station here to offload all my unwanted stone and gravel, because that's not doing me so good. Oh yeah, and you might be interested in this dish here. This is another Darth Biomech mod. This is the Deep Space Communications Array. This thing is awesome and frustrating at the same time. It's awesome because it has a 50,000 kilometer range, not 50,000 meters, 50,000 kilometers. So, at regular, even at modded system speeds, the amount of time it would take you to get 50,000 kilometers out is astronomical, literally. And this would allow you to keep communications. It's a laser. It's a laser dish, and I have another one on Black Rock Station, which is out over there. And the idea was it would allow me to keep communications. The problem is that this thing drains like at least 25 megawatts. It actually varies a bit. There's like 25 megawatts for this. I have a huge solar array at Black Rock Station. It's not sufficient for that. You need something like 300 solar panels to be able to run this. And since by definition, you're going to be a long distance away from whichever antenna you're trying to communicate with, chances are you're not going to be able to do maintenance on both. So, the idea of using this as an uplink to my home base as I fly around is just not tenable. And there's nothing in between. I'm only 400 kilometers out, maybe almost 500. Yeah, almost 500 kilometers out. But there's no middle ground. The next modded dish is 220 kilometers. And then there's 50,000 kilometers. I need something in between. I need like 1,000 kilometers would be great. With more reasonable power requirements. Not that this isn't awesome. This is a great thing. I love this. The infrastructure required for it, though, is beyond me. You would either need someone constantly feeding this thing uranium to keep it powered, or you would need one hell of a solar array, and that is just beyond what I'm capable of doing right now. So, at any rate, that is that, and I will give you guys an update when there is more to see. If you are interested in the Ina, I will be getting her up. I will be getting her up on the workshop when I've got the rest of the tweaks done and ready, because I want her to be fully 100% ready with all the programming and scripting and everything in place and ready to go, so that it's all debugged and working properly. I will post her up on the workshop so that you guys can get access to her and see her for yourself and try her out if you want. She is kind of hard on your computers, so those of you with less powerful machines, beware. She's a bit of a resource hog, but I love her. I will talk to you all later. Thank you very much for watching. Hello, YouTube. This is Polenicus. Basically, we are all ready to go here. I wanted to, we're just basically doing our last checks before we're setting out here. And as you can see, I did complete that ship I was talking about. It's quite large, actually. It's kind of ungainly up there, but it kind of had to be for what I wanted to do. This is the Pathfinder. This is the ship that I'm basically going to be using as my capture ship. Now, you see the front end there is pretty much taken from the Arrow Mark II. I think it's Arrow Mark II, isn't it? I can't remember, but it's from Keen's Arrow. I had some modifications on the original one where I used armor thrusters and stuff, and I've continued that where I replaced the regular ramps with the new Keen armor ramps. The exterior, all the armor blocks on here, though, are all vanilla blocks rather than the Uncle Steve ramps, because I wanted to see if I could do it with the vanilla blocks, and I can. So this should give you guys an idea of the shapes that you can create. Now, obviously, Sage Industrial Thrusters, and there's mods inside, but the basic look of this thing is entirely possible in vanilla, which I think is great. Now, I'm just going to go over the weapons and capabilities of this. Now, this is not heavily armed. It's lightly armed. It's all light armor. This isn't meant to get in a heavy firefight with something. If I'm in that situation, I would rather have either a fighter or, in a battle section. But the idea is basically I'm going to hang off of something and I'm going to snipe it using this railgun here. Either I'm going to snipe the turrets off, or I'm going to snipe out the reactor. And specifically, this thing is built with the mining hauler and the military transporter in mind, because both of those have very vulnerable main reactors that you can pretty much take out with a couple of hits with this thing. And I have a camera on the nose, so I can use the zoom factor to making those shots a lot easier. Now, it does have some weaponry. If it is going to fight, the Gatling guns are basically just point defense. They're more or less going to be for intercepting missiles and such. And it's got 3 missile tubes on the top there. And I believe it has a chin-mounted one as well. Yes, there's a chin-mounted one as well. So, it's more or less, it doesn't have a lot in the way of turrets. It's basically going to rely on its maneuverability and speed. And it has a fair bit of thrust, with 4 Sage industrial thrusters in fore and rear. And it has the same configuration of the nacelles that the Avra Arrow does. And it also has 12 landing gear on the bottom, on the bottom of the nacelles here. And the idea being is that this would allow me to, once I've disabled these things and they're powerless, to latch onto them and bring them to an easy stop without having to use the power of the capture ship itself, which would require me to get past all the either snipe off every single turret, or drain it all its ammo, or find a way to sneak past it to get inside. And that's a lot of work, and really I'm not out to capture these things intact. I don't really need them to be flyable, but I want the resources, especially I want their ammo. I would really like to have their ammo, because magnesium is a pain in the butt to find. So that's the idea, is I want to try and capture these things without them spamming away all their firepower, so that I can use it to fill my guns. So this is the Pathfinder, and we will see how this works later. But for right now, next thing we're going to do is undock the Ina, and we're going to load her up with all of her little auxiliary ships here. They're all ready to go. And I've actually even modified, because this has served me so incredibly well, I have modified the Super Trader so that it has a bottom-mounted connector and the landing gear are in position so that it can use the standard landing pads, and it's coming with me. So everything appears to be clear here. So I'm going to get aboard the Ina, and I'm going to undock her. And hopefully we're not going to have any sort of crisis. And then we're going to resume our journey, and we're going to leave poor civil station to return to being a derelict, along with the Explorer and the Redstone. And just leave them. I'll have we got it'll have power, and it has medical base. I can return here if I need to. I can always find my way back to it, and it has the big satellite uplink that can be used to link into Blackrock if I really need to reestablish that link. Though having that network up causes a lot of lag in the game, and so I would rather not do that. So oops, that's wrong. Okay, and it's unfortunate that you can't get the game to save your sets the way it used to. Well, it quasi does, because these sets were part of the blueprint, but they don't actually match up with the sets that are actually there, so they're all grayed out, which is unfortunate. that right, because that could be really disastrous if it wasn't right. Okay, so that's port and starboard. Okay, that should be good enough. I shouldn't need to put the... Well, okay, you know what? This is the configuration I basically want to have, and hopefully someday I can actually get it to save this. See, that would be the configuration there, with the weapon systems and the battle separation and everything like that. But for right now, we just need to disengage the port docking clamps, and the game's going to go hung, because I'm disconnecting an absolutely huge thing. I think it's going to go hung. Looks like it's going to disconnect without any issues. That's different. Okay, and okay, let's hope I didn't get this wrong and end up converting the station to a ship again. This one is going to take a little bit. Now, hopefully the printer head doesn't explode again. I've noticed, though, that this lag here, this lag isn't necessarily because the ship is so large, because I've noticed that things like this have actually started lagging a lot, even on small ships. Like, I'll go into, on the workshop, like, there's this little fighter that's the remote drones that I was using to ruin Mia and Nell's day during the dogfighting testing, and I would get into those and claim them or change the ownership on them, and it would take a huge amount of time. There's like this huge lag in there, and it didn't used to be that bad. Now, I mean, you can understand a lot of lag on something like this, but on a relatively simple small ship, it really shouldn't be that bad. We're not talking like Cookie Monster level of complexity, because that's ridiculous. Cookie Monster is quite possibly, you know, it's far more complex than a large ship that's considerably larger than it. How much more welding does this damn thing need? Come on. Anytime now. There we go, finally. Okay. Okay. Frame rate's going to crap. Killing the dampeners. Pulling away. No, we are disconnecting. Okay, we're just going to let ourselves drift off the station. Okay. A little bit melancholy about leaving. I mean, I didn't intend to have such a long layover at this station here. I basically was just intending to drop off the two exploration ships and just leave it here as an artifact in case anyone came after me, and another starting off point, and end up spending a while here putting everything back together. And leaving a metric fuck ton of stone behind in the station's coffers. But hey, I don't want the stuff. That is one of the downsides of those big drills. You eat a whole asteroid, you get a whole asteroid, you got to store a whole asteroid because you poop it out. Server gets derpy. Okay. We're going to stop the ship. It's time now to load it up and get ready to go. I'm not going to bother recording all that because it's basically just me loading stuff up. So the next you see me, I am going to be continuing on my journey. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for sticking with me here while I patched everything up. And hopefully in the next episode, we'll see how well I do against enemy NPC ship. Thanks for watching.